At DePaco Credit Union, we value your health and happiness as much as your financial well-being. What's your dream? A trip? A new home? Or maybe it's a green electric bass guitar. No matter the goal, we're here to help you create a plan that helps you achieve it. Share your dreams with us, and we'll work with you to turn them into reality. Well-being is the key to a life worth loving. So when you think about yours, remember that DePaco can help you be well.
All things Hawkeyes, your all-access pass from the sidelines to the postgame. Iowa's News Now Sports presents Eye on the Hawks, sponsored by DePaco Community Credit Union and Pin Seekers.
You just never know where life's going to take you. It's a great life lesson. You know, it was the last thing I thought would happen, and here we are. And I never thought I'd be a head coach either, so that's kind of just happened by chance as well. But I've always enjoyed what I did, and it's worked out okay.
Understated amid history. Kirk Ferentz last night, 206th win at Iowa. That puts him over the top of Woody Hayes, the most at a Big Ten program, and he got to swarm off for the first time in his 27 years leading the Swarm after a 47-7 win over UMass. Iowa now 2-1, wrapping up the non-conference schedule. Welcome to the Sunday edition of Eye on the Hawks, live from the DePaco studios here at Broadcast Park. Mitch Fick, Owen Sebring, Mike Howell here on a Sunday afternoon. Thank you again to DePaco and Pin Seekers for everything. If you're watching on the Iowa's News Now YouTube channel, thank you. We've got our post-game interviews up there, as well as all of our Tuesday press conference talks with the players, and Coach Ferentz will also be up on the YouTube channel. And, of course, everything else we've done throughout the Eye on the Hawks tenure will be there. And if you're listening wherever you listen to podcasts, thank you. If you want to take the audio version with you on the go, just search Eye on the Hawks wherever you do your podcasting. Boy, wasn't it nice to wake up last Saturday and it was 41 degrees out and we thought fall was here, and then you woke up yesterday or this morning and fall is not here?
We were walking out of the stadium pretty late last night. Around midnight was when Kirk Ferentz's press conference just got over. And walking out of the tunnel back onto the field, it's like, it's still so freaking humid. Like, how is it still this humid outside right now?
The overnight low, felt like, was last Saturday's high at Jack Trice. I was probably close, I imagine.
Yeah.
It was pretty chilly in the unnamed Cedar Rapids bar that I was watching the game at. No free ads. But how many shirts did you guys bring? Did you soak through one, or? Oh,
I wore short sleeves, and that did not do much to aerate the. That's not even a word. To keep it cool. Aerate, yeah. Extra syllable.
I did have a button-up on, but it was one that I made sure was not going to show sweat. I don't know if my slacks did the same thing. But
well, you couldn't tell on the camera. You guys both got some airtime after the game, and during the game actually, one of the touchdowns we saw you.
Really?
Mitch. Yep.
The Kaden one.
Yeah.
I saw I made the replay.
Well, it might have been the first one. No, it was Kaden. It was the Kaden one. But yeah, did see you guys on TV. Fun game to have it in hand at first quarter, right? We like that.
Yeah.
But it was actually, you guys probably haven't seen it. Go watch the broadcast. Anthony Herron interviewed Kirk. You guys saw it. Watching the broadcast was pretty cool.
That's really, really cool. I always admire the fact that you are shirt and tie no matter what. I especially admire you in the summer or any day that it's 90 degrees, because that's commitment to dressing for what the job entitles and needs. And I show up in a T-shirt and running shorts and just hope for the best.
Listen, you don't got to be on air, though. I mean, it's like sometimes you got to.
I don't know. Sometimes I have to be.
Staying up that night.
Sometimes I have to be. All right. Well, let's tee it up with Pin Seekers right now. Kirk Ferentz, 206. Anybody and everybody getting a chance to share their thoughts, whether it's online or in the post game. Let's take a few minutes and hear from Coach Ferentz and, first of all, his players about a historic night at Kinnick Stadium.
To be able to be a part of this game, we were just a small part, in his 26 or however many years it's been, 30, whatever. To be a part of this is so awesome and special, and I think when you get to play for a guy like that and what he's done, it's attributed to the way he does things. And Coach Ferentz, he's the absolute best man and coach, so he absolutely deserves this. Super happy for him.
He's just like the perfect Midwestern guy. He's a family man. He's so loving to his family. He spends so much time with them, but also spends so much time trying to get to know his players and get to know his the people that are working for him. And it's just so special that everyone here respects him. He knows so much about the game, knows so much about life and sports in general. It's just a great person that you can learn from. All these coaches and he can mentor all these coaches that we have, and he just makes everyone around him better.
That was just all God. I mean, just the fact that he was able to get that record that I don't think anybody's going to touch for a minute, and just witnessing greatness in him and just him doing that is just a great thing for the team and everybody else. Just consistency. Like, he's always consistent with us. He's showing up every day. Like, I'm sure some days he don't want to be there, but he's always got a smile. He's always shaking everybody's hand, and, like, he's just always ready for us. So.
I think everybody was a little bit emotional, right? You got to be a part of this. Not everybody gets to do that, right? It's a 129-year record, right? Something like that. So to be able to be a part of this truly is special. And like I said, to be able to play for him, these games, these type of games, him setting records, it's so cool, and it's what college football's about. And, he's been here for so long now. That tells you the type of person he is and how committed he is to the University of Iowa and what it means to wear the black and gold.
Kind of off the field stuff kind of taught me how to be a better man, and kind of just no matter who you're talking to or what you're doing, just kind of always understanding that you can leave an example for somebody else. And just, not just him, the rest of the coaching staff as well, but he kind of hits on it the most, and it's just been super cool to learn from him.
He talks about even like after a loss, like even after Iowa State, like in our team meetings during the week, he has points for us, and he tells us these points would not change if we won or lost the game. Like, I would be preaching these exact same points to you guys. So I think that's really the important thing. It's more just like the message and the mentality, and like the greatest enemy is ourselves. And so when you think about that, win or lose, like the mentality and the effort that you go into every game is going to be the right one. So I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned from him.
Most of them like me better after they leave here, I think. I hope. At least usually it's about 5 years later. But no, in all seriousness, you just treat people right, and we've been so fortunate because I think we're pretty transparent about what we are, who we are, and what we're trying to do. So, hopefully the right people come here that want to be coached and they want to be worked with. And I think we're fairly demanding, but I think they understand what we're trying to do. We're trying to build guys who are going to be good competitors and good football players, but it goes well beyond that too. And it's fun to see them grow into young people and young adults and doing some really neat things in their lives. And, I think we're just all who we are, I guess. That's it. And have the right people get together, the good things happen.
Quite the scene at Kinnick Stadium for those that hung around. It was a late night, late kick. 206 wins, 91 of those now coming after his 60th birthday, more than 44% of his career wins. We've been fortunate, especially the last couple of years, covering Iowa women's basketball and everything with that, seeing some really cool historic moments. How did you guys feel, particularly, you'll start with you, Owen, as you pop up in the video there on the YouTube channel, covering an event like this where it is Big Ten history. We saw Lisa Bluer do it not too long ago, and now you see Kirk Ferentz do it passing Woody Hayes. Yeah,
we've seen, just since I've been here, I'm coming up on about 4 years working at this station, and I've had a chance to see a lot of Hawkeye history in my time here. The Ferentz stuff, frankly, does pale a bit compared to a lot of the Caitlin Clark stuff that I got to see, but still a special moment to just be there, seeing the emotions on Kirk's face as he was getting interviewed post-game. But to be a part of something like that, to get to be around the celebration was a sweet moment, and one that you almost wish that more fans would have stuck around, or that the game time would have allowed folks to be more engaged with it post-game. But I'm glad that as many were able to stick around and celebrate, including a few players. I got some shots post-game. Dallas Clark was there, as he is for most games. Right? I saw Aaron Campman was there. He was hanging out with LeVar Woods afterwards. And, so it's not just the current players, but a lot of his former players that got a chance to come back and celebrate that moment with him.
Joe Conklin works on staff at the University of Iowa. Great guy. He said he had never been into the post-game room before, just because that's not part of his day-to-day operations, but he's like, today's the day I got to come in and sit on this if I've got to be in one press conference, it's got to be this one after 206. So a lot of familiar faces. Just watching it on TV, Mike, had to be wild. Sorry.
Sure, go ahead. I had one more thing to add, Mike.
Oh,
no go ahead.
No, it was, and I got kind of teary-eyed. It's kind of wild. I'm 35 years old, be 36 in November. The first couple of months away, but thank you. The first Iowa football game I remember watching with my dad, because I liked the NFL before, so I was a Packer fan since I was like 7. But when I was 10 in 2000 was when Iowa beat Northwestern in 2000 and kicked them out of the Rose Bowl, and there's just a pile of players jumping on. And after that, I kind of got the bug for Hawkeye football. and that next season was 01, and then the next season was really got me hooked with 2002. Just I glued to every game. I didn't watch every game in 2001. I would rather go outside and throw the football. But it's just wild to me that my entire life of being a Hawkeye fan, I've never known a different coach. It's like I don't know anything else. When you look at like programs across the country, 5 coaches wouldn't be abnormal throughout that time period, 25 years.
Sure.
So to Hawkeye fans probably my age and maybe a little younger, it's just like all you know. It feels like family, and I've only met the guy like once passing by when I was a freshman, picking up tickets at Carver. Him and Doyle were running just past doing some exercising.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool and pretty special moment.
And that's why this maybe hasn't quite hit me yet, just because I was here working on my story until 3:30 in the morning, and so haven't had much of a chance to reflect on it. But the way you frame it is great, just because even me as somebody who has been in passing, a Hawkeye fan here and there a lot of my life, not just being very neutral to it, but still it's a guy that's been around this program since 1999, which I was 13 at the time, but still it's like a guy who's been around for so long that so many people do respect and revere, not just in Iowa but nationwide, that look up to this guy and respect him as a coach. Even guys like Matt Campbell and his rivals respect Kirk Ferentz, and so to be on the sideline and in the press room is maybe something that I will appreciate more down the road after, all is said and done, and you get a chance to say, like, hey, I was there for that historic win.
And no doubt, every game that Iowa loses, and I think his mindset is and his coaching philosophy is a little too conservative for modern college football. Even with that, I can still appreciate what he's done for the program and every win that he does have. Look at the past 4 years. I mean, had some of the worst quarterback play, not this year, but in the past 3 or 4 years, and still won a floor of 8 games. 10 games twice. It's kind of wild when you think about it.
Your reaction also does remind me of just a year ago when I went out to Mark Farley's last game as UNI's head coach, because they're guys who are maybe, similar situations a bit, not quite as drastic, because, boy, the wheels really fell off there for UNI football under Farley the last few years. But nevertheless, and even in spite of that, I was at that last game when he was like getting honored after his last game, his last win. And even I got teary-eyed, even though I'm like, I do kind of want to see a new coach in the program. It still is like the head coach of the team when I was in college, when I was a cheerleader at UNI, when I was the biggest fan of this team that you could imagine. Like, it's been Mark Farley all along. And so even though I wanted something different, it's still like it feels just like a monumental change in your life when something like that happens. So even though who knows how far we are from the end of Kirk's career, but just seeing something like that and seeing an honor like that does really hit home.
And the fact that in the year 2025 and in the college football landscape that it's somebody who's been there for 27 seasons, which you need that much time to win that many games. And there are guys at other programs winning more games per year that have won national titles, won more conference titles, that are on a pace that they could win 206. Ryan Day's on an incredible pace at Ohio State, and if he wants to stick around long enough, could maybe chase that record and get it back in the scarlet and gray. But it's just a testament to not panicking as an administration. If 2012 he goes 4-8, and those calls got loud, and then 7-6, 7-6.
Yeah, I was gonna say 07-06 was.
Or no, I'm talking 13-14. You go back-to-back 7-6, you get mollywopped in the Tax Slayer Bowl, and there were like, people need to change. And his change was, we'll start practicing in the morning, and they've won 91 games since then. And there were other changes. C.J. Beathard became the starting quarterback and all that. But, the fact that the university stood by him, that he, even at 60 years old then, said, hey, like, we've got to do something a little different. He's known for being set in his ways. And, across the board, there's a lot of things that he'll reference 81 or he'll reference 99, and they're kind of doing the same thing. And I'm reading a book off his recommendation by Chuck Knoll, or not by Chuck Knoll, about Chuck Knoll, who's a Upper St. Clair High School graduate, just like Kirk. And boy, the similarities of just, hey, let's stick with what we do well. Maybe we'll make some changes here and there to raise things every once in a while. But otherwise, you build your foundation, you stick with it, you treat people right. And that's the stuff that, you don't maybe have the types of trophies that other programs might have, but you hear the way people talk about him and his players talk about him, previous and current. I still remember after the Orange Bowl in 2010, Pat Anger saying, if you want to be a man, you come to Iowa. And 15 years later, guys who were in preschool when Pat said that, are saying the same thing about he teaches you to be a better man. And that's the stuff, we talked about the impact of what Lisa and Caitlin and that whole team did, getting to back-to-back national championship games. That stuff you can't put in a trophy case. You get a runner-up trophy, sure, but the impact and what you're doing for the game or what you're doing for people's lives. He was talking about one of his former players. Oh yeah, we bought furniture from him way back when. And just,
Bob Cratch.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Like that's the stuff that grows beyond, and maybe fans on a Saturday afternoon get mad because it doesn't look this way or that way, or you're not doing what other programs are. But man, when you hear his former players, people that worked on staff. I mean, he's talking about, people in the front office. They speak about him and everything he remembers. We hear those memories shared all the time. That's the stuff that really builds the legacy. And so 206 is awesome, puts him at the top of the list, but that's far more than just victories on a football field.
Yeah, and it's something that this maybe has gotten forgotten a little bit by now, just because it's been a while since any of these discussions were around. But there were also talks of him being a strong candidate for NFL jobs, especially after like the 2002 season, when he was turning this team around and leading them to major bowl games. A lot of people thought that he might be an NFL candidate. And so there are a lot of college coaches and even Big Ten coaches who have chased that, and it has not gone well. Guys like James Franklin or Urban Meyer, like it does not go smoothly for them. And so he didn't chase the dollars. He said that he didn't even know where Iowa was when he first moved here, but he really felt a kinship with the state of Iowa when he came. And even though he could have probably chased a bigger paycheck in the NFL, he decided that this was still where he wanted to stick around. And I think, if nothing else, Hawkeye fans do at least not owe him necessarily, but should at least be grateful that they have a coach who, could have done bigger and better things and decided, I just want to stick with these guys.
Yeah, that Ryan Day shout out, 83 wins so far, almost halfway there. I think you'd probably have 5 or 6 more years of.
Yeah,
but he'd not have to leave for an NFL. He's going to get so many big looks.
And just the frenetic pace of just college football in 2025. I mean, how many
guys
have we
heard last year before he won the national title after they lost to Michigan? You know what I mean? Like, not really, but kind of.
Yeah.
Fans wanted him gone.
It's just you'll have, how many of these coaches, even at the top of their game, they're getting paid $12 million a year at the highest level of that. Like, burnout in our industry is real in 2025. Like, to just keep up with that pace, you just. To stick with it as long as you need to win that level of games, over and over and over. That's just, it's a lot, and that's the interesting thing to see as college football continues to evolve and what it is as we approach the end of this decade and go to the next one. Just how many guys are willing to stick with it, even if the good times are rolling like crazy. That's just a lot to stay into.
Before we start, I mean, we'll eventually transition to talk about the UMass game especially, but I would like to hear from you guys as people who have been much bigger Hawkeye fans than me for a long, long time. Do you have one game of the Kirk Ferentz era that stands out as like your number one favorite game, or you could say even favorite moment of the Kirk Ferentz era?
That's a tough one. I was thinking about this morning. I knew it would be asked, frankly, and I really couldn't think of one, so I'll give a couple of them that just jump right at me. I mean, I think a lot of the games in 2002, you could probably say that Purdue sticks out because they scored in so many different ways. Block punt, I think a block field goal, return for a touchdown. But the other two, just remembering it, 2008 Penn State. I was at Kinnick for that last second field goal win. A couple others that I'll throw out there. The Capital One Bowl is just one of those moments where you don't forget.
Time.
Yeah, I think those are the 3. I mean, I went to the Penn State game in 2009, so personally, that was a huge game I remember when Claiborne blocked the punt. They beat them. I think they were top 5. Penn State was second year in a row. They beat them, so that was cool too.
6'4" is, incredible. A couple of days after losing his dad, and they win in the most, people 20 years later point to that as just the most Ferenzian win possible of sacrificing a safety for the sake of field position and the intangibles, and just to win in his home state too. He's born in Royal Oak, Michigan, but raised in Pennsylvania. Just what a moment that was. So that one always sticks out. Not even the guts of the game, so to speak. It's just the fact that Iowa won a game 6-4, and they willingly took a safety at one point. You're like, yeah, that sounds about right. That's kind of legendary type stuff. Kind of fits the lore. Being in Miami. in January 2010 for that Orange Bowl win. We were talking, I can't remember who it was with, but just a discussion of when was the last time Kirk got Gatorade poured on him. And like I remember he got doused in that game, and then maybe that was the last time. Maybe
I feel like it's pretty standard for bowl games, though, isn't it?
I don't know. I feel like Kirk hasn't taken. I don't think the Insight Bowl the next year. I don't think he got.
I don't think
Gatorade
we saw it
there,
at the Music City Bowl. When they beat Kentucky, I don't think he got one.
But yeah, just cool moments like that, and just for them to get a major bowl win, the last major bowl win they've had, and then. I mean, Woodshed in 2017. Amari Hooker had that pick six right away, and there's a cutaway to him, and you can already see the emotion of just like, what a start against an Ohio State team that J.T. Barrett had gone superhuman against Penn State the week before to bring him back, and then all of a sudden, like, here's Iowa in these alternate uniforms, and they just played like superheroes that whole day. I mean, Nate Stanley, again, I bring it up all the time with the Ohio State defender hanging off him, gunning one in to go up 3 scores. Like, it's the antithesis of 6'4", but I think that's the beauty of it, is that's talk about Kirk Ferentz's career over 27 years. You can get anything and everything, and more often than not, he came out on the winning side.
Yeah, just 2 that stand out for me were the 2017 game. That was the first game. I had just a few months prior started my first full-time sports director job in Sioux City, and we would come over to 1 or 2 games a year. But I decided to come over to that one. Come see Iowa get its butt kicked by Ohio State. Oh, this will be fun to see Ohio State, a national champion team, actually do well against Iowa. And then that's what happened. One of my favorite alternate uniforms, I know, was it just you, Mike, who was saying you don't like those alternate helmets?
I didn't say I didn't like them. I just wasn't a huge fan of them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get the appeal when everyone was like, these are dope. I think they were all right.
I love those things, yeah. But that was it Joey Bosa that got kicked out of that game for a targeting call or something? I forget which Bosa was on that team, but one of them got kicked out of the game, and just, sweet game to be at. And then Capital One Bowl, one of maybe 5 sporting moments in my life where I'm like, my jaw was actually open, speechless, not believing what I just saw happen.
Just screaming, call a timeout, you idiots, and then okay.
Yeah, those are two of mine that as a more neutral observer that stand out for me.
There's a lot of them, and I think maybe it was 4 when he passed Hayden in the opener in 2018 for the winningest coach at Iowa. I think Mark Morehouse, who was still at Gazette at the time, did a whole rundown of ranked all 144 wins.
Oh, wow.
Well, now you got 62 more, if I did the math right there. Yeah. It's been a heck of a ride, so congrats to Coach Ferentz, his whole staff. He went out of his way to thank Phil Parker and a number of other folks. Mary, of course, he always tips the cap to Mary, and she was in the tunnel to meet him, and what a special moment that was. So congrats to Coach Ferentz, and thanks to Pin Seekers for helping us tee it up to start the podcast. Now we turn to what actually happened on the field, minus the interviews and the accolades afterwards. There was a football game, and we said a fast start, see this passing game click early would be great. Well, that's exactly what we got. A heck of a first drive, and we'll hear from Mark Gronowski and company about what that whole offense looked like. Logan Jones popping in as well, as things maybe turned a corner a little bit against a team you would hope it to. But here's the folks on the passing game last night at Kinnick.
When teams run quarters, that gives us the opportunity to sometimes take shots downfield. I was really looking for Seth Anderson on the play. That was my first read, and then all of a sudden I'd look to my left, and Sam's running butt naked down the field. So, gave him an opportunity, and I was hoping he was going to make a play and make a guy miss, but it was a great way to start off the game for sure.
It shows you what we've been doing in practice. Guys have been working hard. We're never satisfied. I thought our skill guys did a great job today. To see them go out there and score some touchdowns was awesome. See Mark finally get in rhythm a little bit, get his throws going, and the run game too. It's just so much fun to see things start to click and click. And, it's not perfect. It's not our final product, and we're going to continue to grow. But to be able to put those numbers up was a lot of fun.
We were talking about it all week that we needed to start fast. The first week and last week, we didn't start fast on our first drives. So it was a big emphasis on us in practice just to continue to keep up the tempo all throughout practice this week. And we showed it on that first drive. We brought a lot of energy to this one, and it was great to take a couple shots to start off the game.
I think they've made progress, and nobody wants to hear this, but it's just it takes time. I heard Brian Hoyer on the radio Thursday morning coming into work. He talked about when he's in New England, he probably spent more time in New England than anywhere, and he always thought it took 4 to 6 weeks before they knew who they were. And mind you, they got Brady as a quarterback, right? So they knew who he was. But you think about their teams, how they evolved up there, and That's how I feel about football. I don't think you can rush to judgments about things. If we're doing it right, we'll be a better team after 4 weeks than we were, after 2 weeks. But that's the thing. And I thought we improved in practice this week. It's not the guys haven't been trying. It's timing, it's rhythm, tempo. So hopefully we'll keep taking steps each and every week, and that's what we got to do.
So we're going to start doing a drive of the game segment, and we were lucky. It was just the first drive. You had a 3-yard run by Gronowski and then dropped one in the bucket. I said I wanted one explosive play, a pass play, and we got it there, 45 yards to Sam Phillips, and then right to Seth Anderson. Welcome back to the end zone for the first time since the opener in 2023, the first of his 2. You see the graphics there if you're watching on YouTube between Mark and Hank Brown coming in the fourth, 21-31, 234, 3 touchdowns. You had the 45 yards in the second play of the game, but 2 end zone visits for Seth Anderson, and of course, Mark can still run too. Great. I didn't even know there was a spin move until I saw Owen's angle of that. I was on the other side of the field, but things clicked. Jacob Gill, after a 5-catch day in Ames, he only has the 1 there, but things looked good. They felt good. Maybe a little something to be desired when it came to receptions. KJ Parker got his first career reception there in the touchdown. Had a drop, though, as well. A couple other drops. What do we think of the passing game? Certainly the best it's looked, but maybe some room for improvement continuing.
One little historical note that I loved from that game was that Seth Anderson is the first Hawkeye receiver since Maurice Brown in 2002, with 2 touchdown catches in the first quarter of a game. Been a while since that Mo Brown 0-2.
Yeah.
That's wild.
But yeah, it was. I mean, it was exactly what I feel like I wanted to see, and I think we all wanted to see. We weren't expecting them to totally light things up just because you didn't need to. Did they hardly throw a pass in the fourth quarter? I mean, it's just like they were just totally content to keep the ball on the ground and, maybe throw it on, if it was a 3rd and 4, maybe throw a pass to a tight end. But overall, they did what they need to do, and I think you did start to see Logan Jones use the word twice. He said it was clicking, and that's kind of what it looked like, especially in that first half, was like Mark is starting to look comfortable. But on the other end of it, it's like, man, the drops were crazy yesterday. Like, I can't remember what game it was, but it seems like maybe 2 years ago in 23, there were some drops issues on that team too. And it seems like that was it obviously didn't come back to bite them in this game against UMass, but was something that, like, is not a concern yet, but just something to at least look for going ahead.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I put on my notes just as a concern. Obviously, when you start like that, like, what else do you want, right? And then, all the naysayers will say, like you said last week, Mitch, like, that's the playing games like this, well, you should do that. Well, they didn't in the first game, and they did in this game. Yeah. And while UMass might be worse than Albany, it's kind of close. The power ratings have them like 30, 40 spots difference or whatever. But, like, when you go out and you throw a deep ball on, the second play, that's what we needed to see, and that's what you did.
And doing what that team should do, that is a step in the right direction, I think, for Iowa, because that's not what they did against Albany, and that's what you would want to see with games going forward. You should beat teams maybe like Rutgers or Minnesota. You should at least be maybe even competitive with some of the top 15, top 10 teams that you might see down the road.
Yeah, and, with the yardage, what was it, 170 or 180 for Mark? I didn't write that down.
16 to 24, 179, 2 touchdowns. Sure. He had 45 on that first throw, so after that, it's 134 yards on 15 completions, but you didn't, you threw 2 scores. You ran for another, again, just hitting the one big pass play, you're like, okay, they can do it.
Yeah.
What I was going to say, though, because I just wanted the exact stats, sure, was every time Kaden Wetjen would get a punt return and have like 30 or 40 yards, I'm sitting there and I'm like, just call a fair catch. Because I do think his yardage was impacted by Iowa's starting field position was at their own 45.
You sound mad about that.
No. I
get what you're saying, but you sound mad.
I'm not mad, but I was sitting there. I was like, I want to see him do it from the 20.
Get
some actual yards. I do actually think that his yardage would be over.
Complimentary football is killing
That's why I look at the yardage, and while it wasn't, I think we talked about 200. While it wasn't there, I'm not worried, right? Like, they had awesome field position all game because of Kaden. Kaden scores a touchdown that takes away a drive. Like, I just wanted to make that point because if you do just look at the box score, I'm like, 170, whatever against UMass, that's all you can get. Even though, like you said, fourth quarter was not competitive, and Hank Brown came in the end of the third. So, which you wanted to see him, and he took some passes. That was good to see too.
And man, you'd have it could have been 20 for 24 for Mark if some of those drops weren't there.
Some of the drops, and there were 2 incompletions that weren't drops. And this is the only, like, if you're being super nitpicky, which I think. a podcast has to, like, I think he was off on like 2 or 3 throws that weren't drops
sure.
too.
Yep.
So he could have, increased that completion percentage, I think, which was around 67, which is already great.
Yeah.
If you're over 60 for an hour quarterback, I think you're good. I think ideally, towards 65 is kind of the goal, but still a good outing, and only the 3rd game in this system with these receivers. But yeah, the drops do, like, you have to clean that up.
Yeah, I did it either early this morning when I was trying to wake up or late last night when I was trying to stay up. I took away the 2-for-8 start after that 2-for-8 start against Albany. I think he's in that 63-64% range. So you're shook off the cramps and the nerves and all that, and he's settled in and is starting to look good. Well, Mike brought up Kaden Wetjen, and we need to talk about Kaden Wetjen. Had as rough a day as you could imagine in Ames. Now we're probably 18 hours away from him being Big Ten Special Teams Player of the Week. Kaden Wetjen with history on an already historic day at Kinnick Stadium. 182 punt return yards, including 95, tying a Big Ten record for the longest punt return in history. Let's hear from the Jet about a big day in Iowa City.
I mean, my first thought process is catch the ball and go, no matter how close the guys are or whatnot. But I might peek a couple times to see how far the guys are. But when you have a punter like him, he had a strong leg tonight, so wasn't really worried about guys being too close to me when I caught it. But I mean, he thankfully he kicked some long balls tonight.
Hey, that was great to see him get off like that, because that's the Jet right there. So just see him do that, do his little Jet things. It's cool, give us good field position. He's always working.
Gosh, it's always so much fun. I wasn't even on the team last year, but watching him on the highlights that you had last year, it was so much fun. And whenever he gets the ball in his hands, something spectacular is going to happen. And he's just a kid that goes out there and runs like a chicken with his head cut off sometimes. But he always ends up getting a bunch of yards for us, which is awesome and helps us in field position.
The track celebration at the end. You had that planned or just come to, or what?
I've always done it my whole career, so I'm like, might as well bring it back out in the 9th year of college. So I almost fell down on my face after that. I don't know if you guys can see, but I was gassed.
Yeah, he kind of was. Let's watch. This is from Owen's angle starting. He Willie mazes it over his shoulder, and then he was due at this point. We talked about before the Northwestern game. He was due to take one back at some point. This game, it just felt like he was almost there, and then finally does. And yeah, you see by the time he's in the red zone, he breaks the tape, so to speak. But he maybe milking it a little bit there. But he was tired, and what a night for him, not just with the punt return touchdown, but on the end around, coming in and diving in, hits Mike Hammer with the football, and then 7-iron to within 6 feet of the cup. Nice little Stone Creek swing there, courtesy of Pin Seekers, I imagine, from your conversations with him, Owen. But what a night for him. And this is one of those that, boy, it felt like, and you see the look on his face, like he was kind of getting pissed. He was kind of upset this wasn't working out.
Yeah, and we saw that a few times last year even, until he finally did break one out, that it's like, gosh, he just knows he's so close. That one, I think he might have just slowed up a little bit, and a guy from behind chased him down. Otherwise, he would have been gone for a couple of them. I just want to bring out some of the numbers, because in the game notes, they put some of his return numbers in historical perspective, and they really were incredible. So his 182 punt return yards last night, the 4th most in a single game in Big Ten history. Weirdly, so number one on that list is a Maryland guy, William Likely, from 2015. But the other 2 people in front of him are both Hawkeyes. Niall Kinnick in 1939 had 201 in a game, and then in 2013 was Cavante Martin Manley.
That was against Western Michigan. He returned 2 punts for touchdowns, and I think 59-3 was the final of that game. B.J. Lowry had 2 pick sixes.
So the top 4 single-game punt returns, yardage-wise, in Big Ten history belong to Hawkeyes. And just the idea, too, that it's like that 95-yard punt return touchdown ties Big Ten. I mean, again, 129-year-old conference. Yeah. That is really saying something. And the longest in Kinnick Stadium history, besting a record that was set in 1949. What that kid is doing really is magnificent. It is significant. He really is a kid to be appreciated while he's here. He's not Cooper DeJean, but it is similar to him in that way, where it's like this kid is special when he gets his hands on the ball. Also believed to be the first Hawkeye to have a punt, kick return touchdown, rush, and receiving touchdown in their career in Hawkeye history. The first
Let's
one.
hook up a reverse pass, can we?
That's what he said after the game. He said people were like, "Yeah, now you got to throw for a touchdown too."
Here's another cool one from Hawkeye Football Notes. Kaden Wetjen and Tim Dwight are the only players in school history with multiple 80-plus yard punt returns. Dwight had 3, so can Kaden get one more?
And he's got the kick return touchdown too. Yeah, you know, if he had a few more receptions, if they would just follow Mike's suggestion the last 3 years,
he's good with the ball.
He would be a dark horse Heisman candidate if he had a little more production on the offensive side. I mean, he's what is it? The Horing is the like most versatile player of the year award. I would imagine he's got to be up there. Sure. He's not Cooper, but he doesn't need to be. He feels very Timmy D. It's just he is the guy that you hold your breath and wait for something special to happen every time that ball gets punted. Yeah. A little like Cooper was in 2023, but now it's been for a couple years now. I mean, it's just, and he came back, and you'd think they'd kick away from him at some point.
Well,
they
started to in the
did last
a little bit, yeah, because that guy could boom it.
Yeah,
he is just he's as special of a returner on punts and kicks as they've had since Tim, you could probably argue, even though Coop took technically 2 back, and only 1 that counted.
And if you do go back and look at our Pin Seekers interview with Kaden Wetjen, which was one of our more interesting ones, he's a great just chat, good guy to have a conversation with. He talked about how he's got a lot of time left to potentially break Tim's record because he could be around for another year after this one because of the change in NCAA rules where that season at Iowa Western doesn't count against his eligibility, etc. Like he could come, if he has a great year, he might still just decide to go to the NFL, but he could decide to stick around for one more.
Come back for a 10th year, huh?
Yeah. Why
Even
not?
10. And it was, a night needed for special teams to have a performance like that. Drew Stevens misses a field goal, misses an extra point. A punt gets blocked. I couldn't tell you the last time Iowa had a punt blocked. Maybe I've got a leaky memory, but I can't remember one off the top of my head. They needed this heals all wounds for a little bit, at least probably on the fan side, but I'm curious what LeVar's room is going to be like.
Yeah, I wonder.
There's a lot to clean up there.
Because Iowa State outplayed them on special teams last week. Like, is special teams going to be a concern this season? Obviously,
not a sentence we were expecting to say.
Yeah. Outside of Kaden Wetjen, because the return game was awesome, but
again, last week field position was brutal because of a couple decisions.
Yeah, because he is super aggressive, and I do like when you look at it, like, okay, you're playing probably a team that isn't the best tackling, and you're out athlete on almost every possession, right? Like if you're playing some Big Ten teams, is that aggressive nature of punt return? I'm gonna run back 10 yards to try and beat you to the edge. Like, could that get him in trouble? Possibly against some of the better teams, but he is a top tier athlete, so it could benefit Iowa. It's one of those gambles.
High risk, high reward type of guy. 100%. I mean, it's like it probably will have more times this year where it does come back to bite Iowa a few more times, but you're going to get plays like he did against UMass, and so it's like, all right, is it
the good with the bad?
Is it worth that trade-off, frankly?
You don't tell Kaden to play any differently than he has because that's what's got him here so far, right? And then on the other side of the ball from the offense, the defense just continues to be the Hawkeye defense. Nobody even asked about the defense last night because it was every other story. Here's Caden's doing awesome, and Kirk won 206, and the offense, the pass game's here. Oh, by the way, the defense, even though they don't have any turnovers so far this year, we'll show you some highlights real quick. 119 yards allowed, 5 sacks. You guys happy about the defensive line? Max Llewellyn leading the way there. 11.5 tackles for loss. Yes, it's UMass, but you are now looking at the team that's only given up 2 explosive plays through 3 games. Their longest one against UMass was a 22-yard completion, and that was against second-teamers. This is the number 3 team in the country in total defense, 178 yards per game allowed, the high of 238 last week in Ames. 4th in yards per play at 3.49. 6th in rush defense, giving up less than 58 yards a game. 13th in pass defense, giving up just over 120 yards per game. 14th in scoring defense at 10 points a game, given up more than 16. Tests are coming. This defense, turnovers or no turnovers, feels like they're as good as ever.
Yeah, that was honestly one of the most fun defensive games I've ever shot. There was the shot of Jaden Harrell chasing down the quarterback for a sack. That's one of my favorite shots I've ever had, just because you see him as they're lined up before the ball's even snapped. You're kind of seeing him looking at the quarterback. He curls around the edge, just completely untouched, and chases him. I mean, they just made that a nightmare game for the backfield there at UMass. But yeah, they just, again, I mean, they did everything that we kind of hoped, except get a couple turnovers. We kind of were wanting to see that, but just made the backfield a nightmare situation for the opponent, and that's what you want out of them.
Yeah, 100%. Like you mentioned, the 5 sacks. There were, I think, 27, at least around 27 pass plays that UMass cooked up, and they got pressure on like 23 of them. That's like 85%. That's really good. That's what you expect, and that's what I was expecting week 1. That's why I kind of felt a little disappointed on that. But the 119 yards too. 85 came in the second half, and those second teamers. Can we give the second teamers some credit? Because the game wasn't over. Iowa wasn't covering until the second teamers scored a touchdown and held them from scoring. So congrats. I didn't bet on the game, but I'm sure a lot of Hawkeye fans did. So
there was a time when UMass had 7 points and -1 yards of offense.
That's right. I kept looking up at that. I'm like, did they not update that? No, that's right. That's what happened. Yeah, the rush defense, I think they finished 26 carries for 26 total yards, something like that. Because factor sacks into, or sacks do factor into rushing yards. We've already talked about my feelings on that. But they've done exactly what they've needed to do through 3 games. You couldn't have played much better in Ames, in my opinion. I mean, that was a heck of a job, even though Cyclones had a heck of a battle against Arkansas State on Saturday. They're up to 12th now in the polls, but it goes back to the narrative that started up in the summer of, the offense might have to carry the defense. The defense is steady as she goes and stellar as she's been for a long, long time. Phil Phil Parker really seems to have this thing figured out, doesn't he?
I will say, though, looking forward, though, I don't think I just don't know, because you played 2 teams who are the Iowa State game was impressive. The 2 other games, what do you make out of those? When you play Oregon and Penn State, are they going to be good?
Sure. Especially
and you say, no matter the turnovers, like this Phil Parker defense, that's one of the key factors of making this team. Like, we're not going to let you have a big play, and we're going to get turnovers. Yeah. I don't want to sell the stock on this defense, so to speak. But I wonder what will happen when you come in a Big Ten play if it's 5 games, They usually have interceptions and forced fumbles and fumble recoveries. It's just something to monitor, I guess. I don't know what to make of it.
It helps that the offense has 1 interception that they've thrown on Kaden falls down on the route, and other than that, and a fumble by the second teamers against Albany. So you've got 1 fumble recovery on punts, so your turnover margin is -1. So it's not like it's getting out of control, like you're not protecting the football. So I think that helps a little bit. Yeah, it's talking to defenders in the past, there's not a turnover play. You can effort it and everything. There's got to be opportunity there. I have no doubt, like, if an opportunity presents itself, they'll get a pick, they'll recover a fumble, something will happen.
I'm just curious, how that turns out, because you do, and on the one hand, think like, gosh, if these guys can't get a turnover against Albany and UMass, can they do it against a Big Ten team? But on the same side of the token, are Big Ten teams taking more chances that maybe UMass and Albany aren't? They might be playing a little bit safer just because they know how ferocious the Hawkeye defense can be, whereas a team like Oregon or Indiana might be throwing it a little bit more fast and loose. So maybe those opportunities do come up a little bit more against maybe some of the better teams in the Big Ten.
Yeah, possibly. Even Rocco, too, he takes care of the ball pretty well, at least has this season. One way to spin it into a positive, the fact that you haven't got turnovers. I think in the past 3 years, you've needed turnovers and defensive scores to win. Iowa scored 47 points and did not need a defensive score. Usually in the past when you see that, like against Maryland, wasn't that the over-the-shoulder catch, or am I thinking of a different game where Cooper caught one over and then took it 40 yards?
Yeah. I think that was the 21 game. This is the most points they've scored since Maryland.
Since then, they scored 55, and they scored on at least 1 defensive score. So that's a good positive that your offense can move down the field and score, even though if it's not there yet.
Yeah. I wanted to double back just one kind of strange note about special teams. I was looking at on CFB stats at the top punt returning teams in the nation. Number 1 punt return team is Iowa State. They've only returned 3 punts this entire season through 4 games, go figure, averaging 39 yards of return. Number 2 is Iowa, they've got 8 returns, averaging 29 yards a return at this point. Doing it well with the special teams in the state of Iowa.
I'm trying to figure out when this Cooper DeJean pick six was. It wasn't against Maryland.
Yeah, he didn't really
that was,
play until
I think
22.
that was Rutgers in 22. Was that?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh,
Red team on the East
I
Coast.
do believe
at
Quinn
night.
Schulte had his first career interception in that Maryland game, though. And you know who was Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week, if I recall correctly, after that Maryland game? Spencer Petras. Put some respect on the name. Spencer Petras, everybody. But a great quarterback performance, certainly, on Saturday. And I feel like I think he finished, 6 rushes for 12 yards. You take away a couple sacks. I think that's what you're looking for out of Mark, is you can give us 3 total touchdowns, complete 66% of your passes, run around a little bit. He had, I think, an 11-yard touchdown run, a 13-yard rush on top of that. So you add in, take away the sacks, and it's a decent day on the ground. I don't think you can ask for much more out of him. That's a pretty good day at the office.
I think moving forward, there'll be more rushes on it. I honestly, like I said, I think I said this on Wednesday. I was hoping he didn't run at all. So when they cooked up the first play, it looked to me like a designed run because Logan Jones was 5 yards down the field, or it would have been a quick RPO or something, a pass behind the line of scrimmage. I was like, oh, come on, because one hit and he could probably get hurt, but he didn't, so that's good. But I do think there will be closer to 10 rushes a game, don't you think, moving forward? Whatever they need.
He seems so effective, aside from, again, talking about, you score 47 points, you win by 40, and you're like, they played at maybe 70% of their ability, it felt like, just with the special teams miscues, the drops, inexplicable fumble. Not the fumble itself wasn't inexplicable, but just standing there. Because I was in that corner, like, the dude's gonna do something awesome, and I'm right here for it. And then he just stood there and you're wondering what was going on.
You gotta make a decision.
Yeah, do something. If he would have tucked and ran a little quicker, maybe something works out. But hey, again, we'll be nitpicky after a 40-point win. That's a good spot to be in.
Did they run any? Again, from our angle, we're always at the direction that I was going towards, and so we can't see from this angle what's going on. Did they run any slow mesh yesterday?
I didn't see it.
Okay, I didn't think so.
But it's on film now.
Yeah.
And Rutgers has to think about it. And they didn't need to. I mean, the RPOs worked great, and listen, there weren't a lot of plays that were a calamity out there.
And this might not be something that a Kirk Ferentz would probably want to hear, but do you? I wonder if he needs to take more chances into dangerous situations like that play. Like there was one where Dayton Howard was one-on-one, and Anthony Herron actually called it out. He's like, it's pretty good coverage, but sometimes, if you watch college football, a quarterback will toss it up to your receiver that you trust, and he goes up and makes a play. Mark doesn't do that, which can be a benefit because he doesn't turn the ball over, but holding the ball, get the fumble. I wonder if we start to see him take more chances when there's one-on-one opportunities. I didn't see the back of the end zone on that specific play, though, so I don't know if there was actually any windows to throw it into.
Or when we see a Reese Vanderzee back there, he is the type of guy that you do trust and throw it up to in a situation
and Reese
like that.
was out of his boot, which was a big development there, and it does sound like Kamari could be available against Rutgers. Again, that's a quick turnaround. That's a 7 o'clock game on Fox 28 Friday night. So you're watching film today, and then you are flushing and moving ahead. Again, Warren Ruggiero, his cut-ups and his advanced scouting going to be critical this week as they turn the page and get into the Big Ten and get an early start to head to Rutgers, who we did not pick in our picks recap because they were playing Norfolk State. Michael Vick in Norfolk State. Spoiler alert: they handled business, even though there wasn't a spread, so we didn't pick it. But the rest of them, boy, Mike and I just needed one more point out of Georgia. Would have been nice. So Owen leads the way with a 500 record.
They should mandate in overtime. You got to kick the extra point,
even if the game's over.
It was a field goal, wasn't it?
No,
it was 38 going in. Yeah. So funny story. They're getting ready to do the Swarm and the national anthem, and I would say 85 to 90% of the media is just in the photographer's room in the north end zone in the corner, just like, is that Tennessee kicker gonna hit it? And then we run out and we're like on our phones. Oh no, he missed it, and he can't go back in. So yeah, it was 38 all. Yeah,
there was
44.
There were some discussions about if we miss the Swarm and just rerun the Swarm from week 1, would anybody notice?
Probably not.
So Iowa State doesn't cover again. A heck of a battle there at Arkansas State. Minnesota loses outright at Cal. That was a heck of a win for the Golden Bears. Tennessee barely covers. That was a heck of a game, though, in Knoxville.
Game of the week.
And then look at Iowa, a 35.5-point spread in covering. So wins for all three of us there. I am now 4-7 on the season. Mike and Owen leading the way, limping in at 5-6.
Not a great one. Not a great week for me. At least Owen, you finished 2-2. That Minnesota game really surprised me.
That was very surprising. I even got to watch just like following updates though throughout the night because that was a close game going into the fourth, right?
It was, yeah. I only watched the fourth
quarter. I think
quarter.
they scored on a late drive, didn't Cal, to kind of put it away.
Yeah, they did. And Minnesota's offense just could not move the ball, and it was weird too. If I remember this correctly, it's pretty late, and I was almost asleep, but it was like 4th and 9, and I think Minnesota handed the ball off and just they were down 10, so there was like 30 seconds. What can you do? Mm-hmm. But yeah, I did not expect that one. I thought Minnesota's defense would be able to handle Cal, and that wasn't the case.
Yeah, kind of surprising. So we'll see what the Gophers bring to town when they head to Iowa City here upcoming. But focus forward on Rutgers on Friday night. We will preview that game Wednesday. Our schedule doesn't change this week. Certainly Iowa's does those. They head to Piscataway to take on the Scarlet Knights, Greg Schiano and company. 3-0, but they've played 2 MAC teams in Norfolk State. Ethan Kaliak-Manis, immensely experienced quarterback, had some time against Iowa during his days with the Gophers, so we will look ahead to them on Wednesday. Final thoughts before we wrap up?
So during the broadcast, some of the players were hobbling. I noticed, like Bo Stevens.
Xavier Williams left the field. Sounds like he was sore. Didn't really get another description of
Is
what
Bo
was going
fine?
on with him. We didn't hear anything about Bo in post game. I don't know.
Did I hear Ortworth was in the tent for a bit?
I might have missed that one, but Bo one series came over by the tent and just sat down. I don't know if he was exhausted, but it looked like he had.
I can't imagine being an offensive lineman on those 90-degree days. And he was, I think he was in and out late at Iowa State, or somebody brought up his name. I know Zach Lutmer went to the tent for a minute, but he was fine.
Yeah,
he just hit so hard, man. He was all over the place.
I saw the play, and it did worry me because he was kind of chasing the quarterback out of bounds, kind of slid into the injury tent.
That one
crumpled a little bit, and so he was really limping, and so I was worried about his. But then he was back, a couple series later. So
he's built a different stuff, man. He has been. I don't. This will be a bye-week discussion, but you're talking about, early season MVPs on either side of the ball, and boy, Lutmer is right up there. He has been everything you want out of that cash spot. But we'll look ahead to Rutgers on Wednesday. Again, tune into the Iowa's News Now YouTube channel. Tuesday, we'll get all of our player interviews from Iowa City up there. And, of course, Sundays and Wednesdays. Well, we'll probably do our recap Saturday, I imagine, of the Rutgers game. Is that our plan?
I think that's
yeah.
Plan.
We'll do that. Okay. That was totally not just discussed right now. That has been set in stone for days and days and days. The Iowa's News Now YouTube channel, you get all that. And then, of course, again, wherever you listen to podcasts, that is where we are. So we will be back here Wednesday night. Big thanks to Ren directing the show. As always, can't do these shows without the folks that maybe you don't see on camera, but they are the straws that stir the drink. For Ren and Mike and Owen, I'm Mitch. See you Wednesday on Eye on the Hawks.
At DePaco Credit Union, we value your health and happiness as much as your financial well-being. What's your dream? A trip? A new home? Or maybe it's a green electric bass guitar. No matter the goal, we're here to help you create a plan that helps you achieve it. Share your dreams with us, and we'll work with you to turn them into reality. Well-being is the key to a life worth loving. So when you think about yours, remember that DePaco can help you be well.